All right, this is EUphoria. It's the podcast about all things EU LCS. It's Drakos and Deficio together again after a basically 3-week hiatus of doing anything together as a unit.
Yes, we are not the same person. There were some people questioning if actually we had ever been in the same room together. I can't confirm.
It's like 20 episodes where we're in the same room.
Doesn't matter. I saw one comment saying it.
It takes one. All right. Well, the conspiracy theorists out there, I hope this has debunked everything. But through the magic of film, we could also just be one person with a green screen between us. So think about that for a while. YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud. You're probably listening on one of those three. The other two are available for you. And of course, this week, we've got some special guests from Misfits. Jesiz coming through. Lovely. As well as Hans Sama, notorious anime fiend and artist extraordinaire.
A famous Vladimir player as well.
Ooh, famous Vladimir player.
Very famous.
The double lift of EU.
Exactly.
Double lift of EU. I like that comparison.
Wait, what? My Vladimir is kind of clean, but I couldn't show it on stage. I was joking.
I mean,
you were joking?
That's the thing, dude. I believe you, but you haven't given us any sample yet. You'd have to invite us over to like watch scrims or something to confirm that the Vladimir is in fact
Ask
clean.
Jesse.
Jesse, is it true?
His Vladimir is really clean, but he was joking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say, there's a few times where I feel like maybe you should have pushed pool a little bit earlier and then you got
It's
chain
fine.
CC'd and died.
I just respect the fact that you guys stuck to 80 carries for so long until the point where most teams had just accepted only play 80 carries and then you picked the Vladimir.
You guys are like, ooh,
like,
Korea's
hey,
back to 80
nice.
carries. Guess we're not hipsters
No,
anymore.
we had actually been practicing it for weeks. I think now it's just kind of the right time to actually pull it out. Like in draft, we just wanted to pick it like in a natural way. We didn't really want to force it because we obviously have an AD player that mainly prefers playing ADs. So we just wanted to pick it in the right situation, and it only came this week. So
My mages are really good, you know. They're actually pretty good.
Do you prefer? Or do you prefer mages now? Are you a mage only player?
No. Just Vladimir, I think.
Just Vladimir?
Yeah, Draven too. He's a mage for me.
Draven is a mage for you.
I mean, to be fair, when you did that interview and you said, I'm going to play more mages now, and you picked Draven instantly, we were kind of being like, well, I guess Draven can be a mage.
Kind of a mage.
He has abilities, I guess.
Sure.
Kind of spell.
Jin's basically a mage.
Yeah,
Disguise as an 80 carry.
You know, you got to throw that ult. That's a skill shot.
Sure.
So that's something.
Do it. All right. Bet updates for anyone wondering. We have been receiving a lot of feedback that the bets are really hard to track. So we are going to be putting together a LoL esports article where we'll compile all of the bets. Most recently, we had the spicy ramen bet. We're going to get a video out for that shortly.
Actually, might be out by the time this goes live.
Probably will be out. You can see Deficio take all of his clothes off for some reason because the ramen he has to eat is so spicy. And Wadid says it's really spicy, but looks okay throughout most of the bet. So I think he was hard trolling.
I'm not
I don't
sure
know.
if he was acting at the end or not, but he did look pretty hit at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It burned. I tried it too.
Definitely
It was an uncomfortable experience. But we'll give you all the updates, LoL esports articles. Stay tuned. We'll put it all in one place so everyone can see it all the time.
Then we got the Memento one, which has still not been done by Drakos and Memento. So everyone, they're almost going on the wall of shame. Actually, it's mainly Drakos' fault. It's not really Memento's.
It's not Memento's fault.
That will be done. And we have the new one from the Nukeduck episode, a Nukeduck and Hylissang episode, where Drakos and myself have to dress up in duck costumes. And most likely we will be rapping something. Drakos will mainly do the rapping.
What are you going to do, Martin?
I'm trying to get some kind of background DJ cowbell, whatever action.
DJ Cowbell.
That's going to be my name.
That's your name, Martin DJ Cowbell. All right.
Anyway, see, the bets are really dumb. I'm sorry, guys. But
Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, back to you guys. So, Misfits, as a team, we can see how you're performing in LCS. Talk to me about outside life, because I know just about every member of the Misfits lineup loves anime. Is that true?
It's true. Actually, there's like one or two who are not really fond of anime.
Okay,
I think
call them out.
Barney and
Chris.
yeah. But we are turning them into.
you're trying to convince them.
It's the good. You're fighting the good fight.
I mean,
Hans.
Barney's slowly turning over, but Chris is not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
He doesn't seem like an anime type either.
He's very Danish.
He's extremely Danish. And I don't know how big anime is in Denmark, actually.
It's not very big, I think. It's
So-
pretty meh.
Yeah, like I mean, we had Pokemon back in the day.
That's not anime.
Is that not anime?
Doesn't count.
I mean,
Cartoon thing.
it's
See, I don't watch any anime.
It's like Digimon
so-
doesn't count. You know what I mean? It's like if it played on Saturday morning cartoons, like does it really?
It's like I think every kid who's interested in Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh, all these kind of animes, they don't know the difference between that and,
Right.
other cartoons.
So all three here, you guys watch a lot of anime.
Yes.
Right. Hans, I have a little challenge for you.
Yeah.
I need you to describe an anime, and I need to see if Jesiz and Drakos can guess it super quick.
Describe an anime.
Just like pick one you really like.
Mm,
And don't say the name, of course.
I mean, I need to make sure that this anime, it's an anime they watched already.
Mainstream one.
Okay, a
Pick a
mainstream
freebie
one. How to describe this anime? Well, there's a lot of transformation and it's never lost.
Naruto?
Actually, there's so many animes who's like
It's
never over.
I swear if your
It's
clue
like-
is like the main character never loses, you've just described 50% of anime. So like
A lot of transformation, and main character never loses.
a lot of transformation. I feel like that should.
it
Sounds like the Hulk.
Oh, never loses.
there's always like challenges, but there's like 1,000 anime of this. League of Legends too. It's never lost.
Come on, you guys are the experts.
You gotta understand. This is like him going. It's an action movie where the guy just beats up a bunch of bad guys. Like he's limited it down to.
And it's a mainstream one.
I mean, we can go Sword Art Online. We could go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Transforms, though?
No.
Transforms though. That's the thing. No.
I mean, low-key, because he goes into another world,
There was a new season. When was it? Last year. Started last year, and it was over 100 episodes, I think.
Come on, you must know that now. Even I know.
Dragon
that.
Ball Super.
Yes.
Oh, I don't watch Dragon Ball.
Dude, I mean, that's fine.
why.
Come on. You don't even need to know Dragon Ball.
Drakos win. There you go.
Okay, good job.
1-0.
Should I go?
I mean, if you can. I can't join in unless you describe one specific one.
Ooh. The thing is it's almost too easy because so many of the descriptions are free.
For me or for them?
Detectives, demons. I'm gonna say those two words: detectives and demons. Old, super classic.
Detective Demons.
Wait, I've only
There's detectives and
I've only
there's
seen
demons.
one detective anime. I think it's Detective Conan.
Oh no, not that.
Oh, I'm watching it at the moment.
Really?
So good.
They're trying to find a killer. Who is it? How is he killing people? Nobody knows.
Demon.
Pokemon.
Yes.
There you
It's
go.
that season where Ash Ketchum became a serial killer and murdered 100 people. Deficio, you're right.
There we go.
I never watched Pokemon. Maybe sometimes, but I don't remember at all. I never played Pokemon as well. I think I'm the only one.
Oh my god.
What? Okay, that's a hard anime fact. It was Death
Podcast
Note. I was trying to get you to say, I didn't want to say Shinigami because then I was like, you're either going to say Bleach or Death Note immediately.
So, last question for me then is, if someone needs to get into anime and he's never watched anything, where should he start? Like, what's the best opening anime to watch?
I mean, you can start.
Yeah, give your one. You each give one.
I mean, I'll not give a mainstream one. I'll give something who was like 25 episodes. I think for me, the anime that made me start having this kind of passion for anime was Sword Art Online. It was I liked it because it was kind of similar for what I'm doing, like playing a game all day, and maybe I would advise this anime for people who are playing games.
100% agree. If you are a gamer,
Sword Art Online.
that is the anime that gets you in because there's no way that you cannot be hyped watching that. If you ever play WoW in your life and you watch this anime, you're like,
And it's like, it's one season or?
let's just say it's one season because
There's one season.
There's one season. Let's just say there's one season.
Yeah.
It gets
There should only be one.
there's the first like 12 episodes are insane, and then it gets a little weak, but it's hype. It's definitely hype.
So I'm going to watch Sword Art Online.
You should actually watch. I
Paul
think
started to get me to watch Attack on Titans, and I was like, yeah, not for me.
Don't watch Attack on Titans. This is too mainstream.
There's a crying kid running around the city, and then I stopped.
Yeah, no, that's not for you.
First episode.
I wasn't into it. I watched Sword Art
World of
Online.
Warcraft?
Huh?
World of Warcraft?
Yes.
So Sword Art Online. There you go.
Sweet. There we go.
Ooh. Phil actually just hit me with a classic, which is One Punch Man.
Vedius tried to convince me about one punch.
Phil's
Like a guy who one punches everything, and he's like...
Yeah, but he lives a great life. It's slightly comedic. It's fun. It's a good time.
It's kind of like if you like action movies, you know?
But it's one punch.
Basically anime of action movies.
Sweet. Man, such a new world for
All right,
me.
one more though. Jesiz, what would you recommend? What would you start on?
I mean, I would obviously to gamers be saying Sword Art Online as well, but I think I would first ask what type of anime or like what type of series they would normally watch. Like say they weren't an anime watcher, and then let's say it was like love or like some drama or something. I would just recommend one of my favorite ones that's like more of a girly anime is Golden Time. And then there's also Your Love in April. But yeah, I mean, otherwise like Sword Art Online for most gamers.
Sword Art Online, most gamers. I think if you want something like, you could always go Death Note. You could also go Steins Gate if you want more like those thriller kind of like deeper ones.
No, Steins Gate though for the first anime. It's too weeby.
You're
like
right.
you really have to be.
It's too weeby.
It's like you're really gonna like fall off after like 7 episodes, of death.
It's tough. Run High School Host Club. That's a class. Dude, you can't look at me and say you love Golden Time and not like.
Come on, it's not the same, dude.
I like Golden Time as well.
Yeah, Golden Time's so good.
I'm gonna actually have to move us on.
You don't want to talk about anime
So
more?
it's not a 2-hour-long episode of anime only.
Are you Sundir? Was that?
I'm just saying, I will watch Sword Art Online. So next time we sit here, we can all discuss that for 2 hours.
Yes.
I'm sure it's going to be great. I'll enjoy the first 12 episodes and then apparently get really mad with the remaining ones.
It gets weird. Man, I actually want to talk about it because it's so bad and it's so frustrating. And there's 2 people here I haven't shared my opinions
But
with
here's
yet.
the thing, Rekkles.
That's not the same thing for me. I'm so fan of Sword Art Online that even the season 2 is good to watch for me.
Hold on. Chill. 2 seconds. They have a child. They have an AI child.
Yeah, I agree. Season 2 was really...
That's where it went downhill, dude. What happened to my girl Asuna? She was a relevant character, and then she became a wife. Anyway,
did you like Gun Gale?
Oh, Gun Gale was fun for a little bit. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just let's talk about League of Legends. People aren't here for the anime power.
I definitely I want people to care about the anime, but I also want to care about you guys. And I think a good place to start and something we have to remember to do is obviously look back at the history of Hansama and Jesiz. And I want to start with you, Jesiz, because you, for a lot of casual viewers, might be still a little bit of an unknown person in some ways, where for like hardcore viewers, they will know your story, you've been here for many years, but correct me if I'm wrong, but everything from what I remember is the first time you entered the LCS was on Gamers 2.
SK.
It was SK, sorry. SK, it was Gamers 2 after. Almost. SK as a mid laner. Famous for Nidalee and Ziggs.
And Orianna. And Ari.
I'll mainly give you Nidalee and Ziggs for now. We can add the other 2 later, maybe. Went to Worlds with SK. Kind of surprised everyone, that split. And there was the lineup where you did play with Svenskeren, and then was it Forgiven, and then also Candy Panda at some point? Or was it only Candy Panda?
I only played with Candy Panda and Nif for relegation in 2013. And then we just had N-rated for the rest of the year.
Right. And this was 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Season 4.
Season 4. Season 5. You left SK
and joined Coast, and then joined NALCS and had a losing streak. Then got kicked from that team.
Oh, you were part of the famous Coast losing?
Yeah, I was like a part of the early losses.
See, I didn't even remember that. How could anyone remember this?
Most people forget Coast.
Oh, I'm trying to forget that one.
I think a lot of people are trying to forget Coast. We just let that one go.
And then G2 after that as AD.
G2 as AD. Back when it was called something different. I won't say it again for Carla's sake. Made it into the LCS.
Yeah.
And then left G2.
Yeah.
And at that point, so this was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully remember what you decided to do. This when you started coaching, right?
Yeah, I joined Dignitas as a coach in NA LCS. and we got relegated. And then after we got relegated,
Great track record so far.
yeah,
in
I got
NA.
relegated, and then I think I had an interview with Immortals
Yes.
and joined that team, and we had a really good regular season as Immortals. Now, you know,
And what was your role within? Was it just positional?
I was
coach?
strategy coach
strategy
and
coach.
positional coach, but mainly strategy coach. And yeah, I mean, we didn't go to Worlds, and then after that, I was just like, I was like, all right, I want to play. At least I want to give it a shot again. And then I went to Korea and practiced.
And you swapped to support because this is like, so when you started, you came in SK as a mid laner. Then you became an AD carry on G2 and qualified for LCS. Then you became a coach. Then you became a support, joined Fnatic, went to Worlds with Fnatic.
Yeah.
And now you're back to being a coach. Like, if that's not a track record.
That's an up and down career. So I've known for a while, right? Like the Ziggs is the one that I remember the most. Like that was the thing, is you were the Ziggs guy.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm just saying like,
Ziggs one.
that's the memory. Not that that's like the peak of your career, but like I've known about you for a long time because that was like the singular reputation that stuck with me. But for you, Hans, I'm curious, when did you hear about Jesiz? Because you're a very young player relative to when Martin was playing, when I first got into esports. Like, how much did you know about Jesiz before joining, or before he started playing in LCS? Because I guess you did get to play against him.
I didn't know much about Jesiz. I mean, I didn't watch like season 3, season 4 competition, so I didn't know a lot of stuff. But I just know about him much more when the first time I went to Korean boot camp. I was boot camping with Jesiz, and who was he? Renover sometime.
Renover as well, yeah.
Was there?
This is when you swapped to support?
Yeah, this was after Immortals. So I went to Korea to boot camp for 2 months, and then randomly Steven was there as well.
Yeah. And I was surprised that he was that good in solo queue. Yeah, so I also with you a lot.
Interesting. That's a cool story. And then obviously, Hans, you joined the LCS with Misfits. Always been on Misfits in the LCS. I mean, before that, you played on, Millennium and a bunch of other French teams, I assume.
Yeah, I started my first team in 2014. It was like a small team called LOL FR, and we just did tournaments online. But then I went to play with a small organization called EUphoria as well. And I started to play LANs. And my father was always bringing me to the LANs. So
Because you were like 15, 14?
yeah, 15, yeah. Actually 14. I started 14. And then 1 year later, Million picked me up because I was at a good level. And we started doing the same thing, LANs, but I started winning them, like all of them.
There you go.
There's a difference.
Nice shift.
Yeah, I was losing, but then starting winning all of them. And we qualified to Challenger Series. That was the time in the qualifier, we also beat some of my old teammates. There was Renegade Bentitos with Hylissang, and we won against them. So sometimes I remind them. So it's kind of funny. And in the end, we didn't make it to LCS, and then Misfit picked me up by bringing me out.
And then obviously from Challenger with Misfits
To
into
Worlds.
LCS to Worlds. I remember, and this was something that was really interesting a couple of years ago, is that I kept hearing rumors about this Wunder kid that was playing, called Hansama, this French AD carry. He was in Millennium back then, and like he was just insane, but he was only 15 or 16, so he couldn't play LCS yet. And then when you joined Misfits, I had to cast one of the Challenger games, which was one of your first games in Challenger, I believe, with Misfits. And it was it's the same thing where everyone was saying like, okay, Hansama. I'm like, okay, interesting. Let's see what he can do. And from what I remember, that game, you hard fed in the bot lane, and like it was like EUphoria or something top lane who ended up carrying the game. And I was like, wait, that's really weird.
I was joking a lot.
Yeah, it was okay. I feel like we saw that in Challenger playoffs too, because I remember this. I remember being the guy in our office being like, Hansama, Deficio, this kid is gonna crush people. And I'd show you these Challenger games, and you're like, I don't 100% believe it. And I'm like, you wait, Challenger playoffs comes around, and you're like, you play so scared. Like every challenger game up until that point, you're like 2v1ing every lane is Draven, hard destroying people, and then you're like, I'm gonna sit back this game. I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna stay safe. But that changed, and I'm glad that changed. That you went from like playing more reserved on stage to now going in the Morgana Draven lanes, popping off every single game.
Yeah, I would say in the past I was a player who was really not talking in game. I was really silent, and being with Misfit, that's the biggest thing I learned is to be like more talkative and even planning a lot of stuff. So there was a lot of improvement since 3 years already, and kind of surprised of it. Before I was the type of guy, even outside of the life, in real life, I was really kind of shy. I wouldn't talk to anyone, I think. Just being in my world.
And now you're here on the podcast.
Now you're here on a podcast in front of cameras.
Yeah, people forcing me to do interviews. Mostly.
He's not forced to be here, everyone.
Oh, no, I'm not forced.
Wait, what was the casters' experience of like watching Steven in playoffs summer last year? Because for me, he went from like being this really passive player that would just lose lane slowly and just lose the game slowly. But then by playoffs, when we actually lost against him in Fnatic, he was like super aggressive in lane and super scary to play against.
Yeah, so I think for us, it started as like, it was definitely like, we didn't look at you when we looked at Misfits. We looked at power people pretty consistently. Like you were not a factor, and the storyline always was, who's going to be the second carry for Misfits? And I think it was in that playoffs where we started to look at you more, and you were getting better and better. And then there was, I think, a specific Rekkles interview where he like called you out, and that was the peak where we just started asking people in general about you, and they're like, you do not want to play against this kid in lane. Like this kid's lane phase is insane. Like people weren't 100% on you in the rest of the game, but people were like, lane phase, this kid is a monster.
I think lane phase through all my career has been a strong point about me, but I've been for a whole year not confident at all. The first year when I was in Misfit, I think maybe a bit before, even when I was in Millennium, in Challenger Series, I was feeling not confident at all when I was playing real matches. So I was just doing really good in solo queue, but in matches I couldn't translate anything.
How do you change that? Is that just playing more games or teammates?
Maybe learning more, having life experience, being in a team, and I started shining in the summer playoffs.
What about Hussein? Did he do something for you?
Yeah, I mean the stuff helped me a lot as well, but I wasn't really fan of playing the spring split. The first spring split, having to play when there was that meta where I was always playing two champions. That was Ashe Varus or Ashe.
CC bot lane.
And our mindset was never to play our own bot. So, and I was kind of the guy who never talked.
Yes.
Even after reviews. So I end up always never. I always end up not being the guy who will carry the game, and it was always playing around mid, and we got into that habit. But in summer playoff, the champion pool changed. Like it was more Tristana, I think.
Tristana.
We were forced to play
Pog against you. You played Draven in that last game, but that was like the one-off.
Yeah, so we played more on bot, and it felt great.
There you go.
I think that's super interesting. Jesiz, just quickly back to you. With your career and all the things you have experienced, 3 different roles, coaching positions, like now you're a coach again. Is this where you want to stay, or do we have Jesiz playing next year
when
again?
We get
Are you a top laner next
jungle?
year?
No, he's jungle.
Oh, yeah,
he's jungle. He's got the support intelligence now. He's got the mid lane mechanics. He's going to combine them. He's going to be the best jungler in Europe.
It's actually funny that you mentioned jungle because I'm actually
Oh no, don't do it, man.
Okay, so in solo queue, I'm queuing support and jungle second. And since there's so many supports in Challenger right now, I'm getting jungle like 70% of the time pretty much. And I'm smurfing.
Oh no, it's happening.
Watch out, Max.
Okay, so I'm not going to go jungle. That's pretty much 100%. Whether I'm going to play next year as a support or not, I don't know. I kind of just wanted to do this split with Misfits to kind of figure out for sure for franchising whether that was something I wanted to do or not, like coaching or playing, because I want to be sure, you know, I don't want to be 50-50 about it. So, I mean, this split with Misfits is pretty much just to figure things out and see how it is to coach another squad than just, you know, the NA squads.
Yeah, because I think, he must be the only player who's consistently gone from playing, coaching. You've been to Worlds twice, and you would think then that you're like, no, I'll just keep playing because I go to Worlds, I play on the best teams. Do you not have the desire to always be a player? Do you like playing or coaching more? Like,
so I actually like both. I like the more laid back lifestyle in a way from the coaching side.
Okay.
But at the same time, I also really like the intense side from playing. But I think ultimately, for me, it really depends on just whichever team I'm on. Like, if I'm coaching the right players, then I prefer coaching. If I'm playing with the right players, then I prefer playing. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to really play with players in my past, at least, that I've felt really comfortable with.
Okay.
Like, where we've really felt like a team and felt like good individuals that were also friends outside of the game. So if I were to go play next year, or like, let's say I have, you know, ultimate offers of playing the same players that I would prefer to play with, or like coach the players that I prefer to coach with, I'd probably lean towards playing, just because you can't really play forever. Whereas I feel like coaching, I could coach for as long as I want to. So yeah.
It's cool. I'm excited to see how everything turns out. I think there's going to be a lot of shifts, especially next year, right? With long-term partnerships coming through. Some people are going to make it, some people aren't. And I obviously don't know anything about the back end, but I think one thing we're all pretty sure of is it's going to be very different next year. And it seems like you are one of the few people who's like, I have both of my options open.
Yeah, no, I think people misunderstand the support role, because I think the only reason why I can consistently go from coaching to playing is only because of the support role. Because I see support as kind of like an in-game coach in a way. I don't think a support is supposed to be mechanical or anything like that. I think a support is truly shining when he can step up for the team and allow the carries to carry and let him kind of take over, looking at the map, looking at the bigger picture, and kind of calling. Because ultimately, when you're playing, obviously when you look at the game from kind of an outside perspective, of course you're not focused on like these hyper micro kind of stuff. And I think taking away that focus from the carries is so huge.
Yeah, I think that there's been kind of, we don't always see the really smart mastermind supports, right? Like, I think Mithy was the most clear example of this guy who was suffering a little bit mechanically, but was very smart about the game. And people always would say that he was very smart about the game. And it feels like we have a lot of really good mechanical supports right now in EU, but I haven't heard the same things that we would hear about Mithy, about someone being that kind of in-game leader, being that voice.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's interesting to see as supports get better, as players get older and more mature, how much more they learn, and maybe if their focus shifts away from mechanics into something else.
It's always a problem though with the support role, I guess, if you are a team and you're scouting, because it's really hard to scout. Is this guy a shot caller?
Yeah,
you know,
solo queue.
you just see this guy is killing everyone. You know, he's a god on whatever thresh and stuff, and you're he's great. We should pick him up and try him out. So I guess obviously that's an issue, because Mickey specifically, obviously your support, Hans, to me, Mickey has always been kind of famous for being mechanically insane, but never been famous for being the leader or the shot caller. Is he changing his role now, or are you guys just doing it differently in Misfits?
I think he's kind of focusing on his weaknesses a lot. I agree. He's it's the best mechanical support in the league, but he's focusing on other stuff such as being a leader more. And I think his improvement has been pretty good the past weeks. So I have no doubt that it will be a huge support.
That's cool to know.
Yeah, that he's the next in line. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Misfits, because you guys are a team that was on top of the world.
Still number one.
Still number one. Those wins giving you a nice little bit of buffer here, but it feels like it has been a little bit more of a struggle. The easy person to point fingers at is everyone's like, ooh, Sencux, but it doesn't feel like the team has...
Don't buy that one myself.
For sure. And it doesn't feel like the team has clicked in the same way. And so what is your guys' perspective on a little bit more of the struggles, a little bit less dominant? What's going on in terms of the backstory for Misfits right now?
Okay, so actually, I think the first many wins, like 9, 10, 11 wins, I was actually sitting backstage with Hussein, and every single win didn't feel perfect, and it didn't feel as good as, peak games in scrims where we could truly see our potential, or like really see progress. And I felt every single game was just either enemy having really bad draft or just playing really poorly. And it was never, obviously at certain points in the game, in some games, like of course it was on us to be really good proactively. But I think most games were like, we can't confidently say that most of the wins was from us. It was really from our opponents being bad. So when we had a long winning streak, I think we were constantly telling our players as well, and I think our players also agreed, that we weren't like, this amazing unbeatable team. We had our clear weaknesses and obviously also our clear strengths, and we just wanted a strong start, and we also wanted to, after getting a strong start, kind of start working on our weaknesses. And I think that's also why we started losing, is because we actually tried to showcase some of our weaknesses and like try them out on stage as well, since we'd been working on them for weeks, basically. So it's just kind of individual losses, and in the end, I don't think it matters that much.
So do you feel like you guys are still improving week to week? Because in terms of results, it's obviously taken a downturn, but do you still feel like you guys are progressing in a way that you're happy with, where like you're working towards this playoff state, presumably, where you can be on top of Europe? Hans, you can go either one.
I would say, of course, we keep improving every week. Like Jesse said, we are focusing more on our weaknesses that we just forget about our strength in stage. So that's why we look like a team that is not top 1, but rather like a team who is like actually 10 or something. But I have no worries that in the next upcoming weeks we will play at our peak form, and just a matter of time that we reach our full potential. I think I'm pretty confident.
That was a weak question. We already knew the answer would be yes. Of course we're improving. Of course we'll get there.
Just gonna first pick Draven.
Instead, I want to know specifically from you guys, and this is something I've heard from a lot of other players on the podcast before. When you guys do not win the early game, you look lost. Like, Baron setups have not been a huge advantage for you guys. Late game, I think we don't see you guys be like superior team fighters or, having the cleanest split pushing calls. Like the Schalke game, obviously from this week, is a good example of that. What do you guys think then kind of is the problem when you don't win the early game? Or do you completely disagree? Can you play any game no matter how far ahead you are, early or behind? Or is it just like, do you guys need to win early to be good?
What do you think, Steven?
Good question. Not at all complicated.
I definitely messed up.
Okay, I don't really think we really need to be. I think we can play a game. win a game from behind or even. I think that's quite a lot of improvement from the past splits. The past splits when we were behind, we always lose. But now I think I'm pretty confident that if there's a game that we are behind, we kind of know the way how to come back. And if it's even, it might feel more pressured, but we kind of can still win. I would say that our strength is, if we get the lead in early game, then we have like really high chances to win. But there's also a positive percentage that we can win if the game is like more even.
So from my perspective, I think the reason why we look a little weaker in the mid-late game is it's really not a lack of knowledge. I think all my players have gotten to a really high level of knowledge at this point, and also kind of experience, I guess, in certain scenarios. But I think the main missing part is consistency, and I think that consistency comes from a leader usually. I think kind of like a big voice in game that can always kind of pull the whole team together and kind of make everyone focus on the same thing. And I know that's also something Misfits was working on, trying to find and push for last split. And it's also been one of our weaknesses this split. So we're just kind of working on that and trying to figure out how we can best get everyone on the same page and have maybe even multiple leaders that can step up in different cases.
Is there anyone you're looking at on the team right now?
I thought it was Maxlore.
Because we were under the impression it was Maxlore. But if there's not that voice there, why isn't it Maxlore? Or who are you looking at? Like, who is the best candidate right now? Is it Barney? That would be the one that would be so curious.
Okay, so
Barney smurfing.
Barney Smurf.
All the time.
basically, no, I think early game it's 100% Maxlore. After early game, Maxlore actually isn't the biggest voice in the team.
Okay.
It is mainly Barney that is a leader in the team, but the issue is that he's not a part of the 4-man. Like he's a top laner, right? So he's on an island, and a lot of the times it is important that someone from the 4-man can kind of lead the 4-man and also kind of in a way micromanage the top laner, like use him effectively. So we're in the 4-man currently. We're kind of looking at Cress mainly. I think we've been looking at him also last split and this split especially, and trying to work a lot about that. Like, of course, people don't really see that from the outside, the voice he brings or like the communication he brings, but he's actually a very big part of the 4-man and the team.
So what do you say to all the criticism towards sCox now? Because like the last couple of weeks, a lot of the community and so on, they're putting their focus towards him. For some reason, they single him out, which I think...
And not just the community, I mean, as a broadcast as well. And some of the criticism was unfair. I'll give you that. We may have went too far once or twice. But I think that there has been a historical trend of sCox going from god tier top mid laner to falling off a cliff the next week. And I think that... Obviously, I think 2-week sample size and best of one isn't enough to 100% say that, but I think that's the question that's always going to come to someone's mind when you look at this guy's career holistically.
Yeah.
So what's going on with sCox? How do you feel about the criticism, as Martin said? Because I think it is important. I think that's something that people really want to know about for the Misfits team.
Yeah, so I actually see myself in Cress a little bit. I think he's, at least I like to call myself more of a brain player rather than a hand player. And like, for example, Steven is like a good example of like a hand player.
He's a hand, not a brain player.
No brain, brave and main.
Only hand.
Hey, not always.
Okay, well, I mean, so yeah, I kind of see that from Cress. And of course, when you shift your focus, like I said, you shift your focus towards the bigger picture and kind of leading the team and more of the communication side of things, of course, your individual skill is gonna lose some of it, like lose some of its power. So I do think I agree that of course his individual performance has been a little bit up and down and fallen off a bit in the latest couple of weeks. Not to say that any of our players have really been performing like great or anything in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, no, I agree with the criticism, but I think there's a lot more to it than people see.
Of course.
Yeah.
What about for you, Hans? Because I feel like every split, the first couple of weeks, you're just hard smurfing. Like you stomp every lane, you carry team fights, and it's like, oh my god, Hansam, a greatest AD carry. And then towards the middle of the split, it happened the last split as well, and I feel like this one as well, we don't see you as much anymore. Like, is there a reason you feel that maybe in your performance takes a step back, or... Or do you not agree? You know, you can also just say I disagree. I'm the best.
You always say that at the end of every...
Yeah, somehow...
he can disagree.
Somehow I always carry in the early weeks, but I really don't have any idea why it's like this. Like always in the middle split, it's like this, but I think it will change. It will not be the same. I'll start to carry again.
Is there any coach perspective on his AD carry?
Do you agree? That's the first thing. Do you agree that there's a little bit of dip, or is it just that other bot laners are getting better and you can't stay ahead of them?
I think the performance that I have now is like more. I mean, it's worse because I'm mainly as an individual. I'm focusing more on my weaknesses, which is, I guess, calling a lot of stuff, and I'm not really used to that, and that shows when that shows how I'm lost in the game in the stage, because I'm focusing on weaknesses when I'm on stage, but that's not the right thing to do. I kind of forget my strength a lot of times. So yeah, I think that's mainly the reason.
I agree.
There you go.
The coach agrees.
So coming out, patch 8.15 is the other thing. It's coming in this week. Marksmen changes. I hope Hylissang just got buffed enough to come back. Do these help you as a bottom laner? Are you excited about 8.15?
Should we just recap really quick what the changes are?
Yeah, so coming in, so everyone knows.
Stormrazor.
Cost reduction, slight stats reduction, but the cost reduction, I think, makes up for it and makes it even stronger.
Infinity Edge obviously is not built from double BF sword anymore. It's BF and pickaxe. It is 200 gold cheaper, lost 5% of the true damage, and also lost, I believe it's 5 AD at the same time. But it is cheaper and it doesn't build from double BF, so also considered a buff. Obviously, it's still super strong late game.
Yeah, every one of the Zeal completed items, Rapid Fire Cannon, Static Shiv, Rune Hands, and Phantom Dancer all got their total gold cost decreased by 100. I believe that's the final combined cost. So that part, not as massive, but across the board, getting so many cost reductions is pretty huge.
And another change also supports only running 2 potions, not 3, which does help a little bit in the laning phase for an AD carry, because everyone's whining about supports being overpowered, which they are in laning phase. Some
They're
of them.
insane. Yeah.
Slight nerf to them, obviously.
Not only in lane phase.
Well, just overpowered. They're just overpowered. So, Hansama, crit 80 carries. Is this it? Are we going back to late game crit 80 carry meta now?
If you say anything other than Draven, where the fans are going to be upset. That's all I'm saying. You answer the question
That or
legitimately.
Rekkles.
You could say Rekkles or Draven. Those are the two things people want to hear.
I'm not sure if the AD carry late game will come. Maybe I'm not actually sure. I mean, there's some champion that people play already that they would be even better in this patch, and Draven is better.
Draven's better. Zaya, obviously, should probably benefit from this too. Like, this should be, is this a meta shift? Or is it just like more of what we've seen already?
It's more of what we've seen already. Because I think everyone's starting to play ADs.
Yes.
It's basically 95%, 90% of ADs. So it's pretty much just going to be the same. Like maybe 1 or 2 AD carries are going to be introduced. Potentially Tristana. I mean, Tristana got a nice buff in 0.13?
Yeah, they've buffed a lot of the other AD carries.
Exactly. It's just continuous.
Twitch has been
buff.
getting
Twitch, Jinx,
Exactly.
Caitlyn.
Yeah. So maybe. Also Jinx with Stormrazors. It's nice.
I mean, there's, because like, so I got scared when I started seeing the patches, like the last couple of patches when they started buffing slowly some of the AD carries not being played. And I was like, eventually they're going to change the items again. And then those AD carries might actually suddenly appear.
And this pattern happens all the time, where something gets nerfed and then it gets like stealth buffed like 6 patches in a row, Nocturne, and is OP forever. Except usually it's a champion, not an entire role. And that's what scares me.
Then maybe also some quirky mid.
Ooh,
I mean, he also got the
40
fatty
damage last
the
round.
E-buff. But is it, like, what else is currently stopping the meta from being crit, like late game AD carries? Are the games still too fast? Like, is it too easy to snowball the game still for these crit AD carries to always get to 3 items?
It's pretty much because of Baron, right? I think if they want to change that, they just have to nerf Baron, right? I mean, a lot of teams are just ending the game with Baron or...
Yeah, nerf the Baron buff, yeah.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, I think that's just too OP. It's kind of like Banner, you know? Like, they should just change that. Like, nerf the buff that you give to minions.
What if they like the games being 30 minutes long?
I like that.
Because I think...
I like that too.
You can always make an
don't like
argument. Like, do you want games that can go... Like, when we had the start of Spring Split, if you remember, Hans, we had 60-minute long games. You sitting on 6 items, not knowing what to do with your gold, buying CC rod portals. Yeah. And, like, every game went that far. Like, was that a good meta or was that a bad meta?
That was a stressful meta. When there's that kind of game that never happens to me most of the time. Like, I'm not that trained compared to Jesiz, I think, for late games.
For 60 minutes?
Yeah.
60-minute games?
It's you played more stressful, to be honest, in the game.
Come on. It never went 60 minutes.
Maybe you will make me start liking it.
No. With 6, I don't think I ever passed like 45 minutes.
I think also like 35 minutes for me is kind of the sweet spot where I'm happy. I think 25 minutes is too quick.
It's way too quick.
30 minutes, I can, okay. But 35, you feel you've had like at least 2 Barons or like potential Baron setups.
Like
you've had,
Elder, maybe.
yeah, 1 Elder Drake could be what you're fighting for at the end. There's been a couple of good team fights because as a caster and a spectator, one thing I am missing is hyping up the AD carry.
Oh my God.
He's finally there.
it.
He's got his item.
Easiest meta to cast was the AD carry meta.
It
You're
really
just like,
is.
hey guys, there's 4 champions. We're not going to talk about any of them. This is the
Look at
Caitlyn.
this
This
guy.
is the champion, and only the Caitlyn. That's
But
the only
like-
champion we talk about.
Watching certain champions in the late game is just something that is amazing. Like watching a Maokai in the late game, you don't care. Or a Mundo.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. Watching an Azir in the late game, killing 5 people, or watching an AD carry who's farmed for, 35 minutes, pop off and just get like a bunch of kills. Like it looks good. It's part of the game that I'm missing a little bit. Especially now that I feel like the bot lane meta is kind of figured out and it's just the same few mages being played. Yeah, I kind of want...
This is his formal request to you guys to make it spicy, to give us the Storm Razor Jing.
Never finish before 35 minutes, though. We need that viewership to climb.
Yeah,
as well.
stop.
The quick games
Gathering
doesn't
Storm
help.
at the same time, I think. Gathering Storm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that needs to just go if it's going to be late game,
Oh,
This is not fun.
60-minute Gathering Storm meta.
It's like
Mandatory.
you get a little support with like 2.5k HP and it comes with a little Gathering Storm 50-minute 80 carry.
Yeah, it's a quick one. It kills you.
The one shot, nothing like Rapid Fire Cannon 2, that wholesome 900 range auto attack or whatever. You're like, I can't interact with you. Nice, great, fun times. All right, so patch 15, maybe it changes some stuff. Maybe it'll be mostly the same. I hope to see a few more crit 80 carries.
I mean,
I don't want mages to die, though, because I do like having mages
It's fair.
down there.
There is one question we have to ask. This is because our boss requires us to talk about Rekkles.
Every episode.
He is behind us right now. He's watching you, Han, so be careful what you say.
It's true.
He's always here.
And he's always smiling.
Do you think Rekkles will return this patch and this is going to be Rekkles meta now?
I mean, I don't really know about it. Maybe the reason the last week was pretty much AD carry most of the time, like 80%, I think. But I'm not actually sure why he's not playing. Maybe it's because they played too much with Brepo that they feel comfortable with him more.
Okay.
That it feels more like a team already, and having Rekkles like so soon. Having to play Rekkles so soon when there's the playoff, then maybe it's hard for the team to like change again. I'm not sure about
That's fair. They've gone too deep. They've gone so
Yes.
far into the Whippo one, now they can't go
They
back.
actually don't know how to draft without having literally 70% of their champions be flex picks. They're uncomfortable with the idea that they might have to pick something that
But, like-
people can tell what lane it's going to go in.
when you change something so sudden, maybe things can go downhill. So
It's true, they are winning, obviously, but I just feel like now with 95% 80 carries bot lane, like there should be no reason unless they actually think Whippo is a better fit for the team.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that the reason why they haven't at least changed in this patch or the patch before that is probably because Brepo maybe brings more to the team.
Right.
Maybe either communication-wise or like practice-wise. I imagine practice-wise, like maybe them as a team, they learn more, or maybe Hylissang learns more playing with Brepo. And I think that's just the biggest thing. I mean,
We had him on the podcast where he actually, I believe it was on the podcast, he talked about how his synergy with Hylissang is really good. And they have this smart thing going where because he can play mages that can kind of sit on their own, Hylissang can be more proactive on the map, which is kind of the playstyle he wants to play. So there could be more to it as well. Just saying simply that this bot lane just functions better. I'm not sure. I don't know what synergy Hylissang and
don't
Rekkles
know.
have.
I mean, we heard Whippo say, interview end of last week, very likely that the golden boy will be returning. I think were his exact words. So
okay.
maybe this is the time.
Should be interesting.
Maybe he said strong possibility. I don't remember the exact words, but he basically said Rekkles could be coming back.
I mean, you always have that weapon now. Also, if you just save it for playoffs, a team can practice against Fnatic for a best of 5 with the idea that Whippo is playing, and then they announce the day before it's Rekkles playing, right? And things change. So
I hope I don't have to play against Tristana players. I've always been playing against Tristanas the past like the spring split, and I was got outscaled and I got tired of it. So every time I face a Tristana, it's kind of feel bad.
So you don't want to play against Rekkles?
No Tristana.
You prefer if they keep Repo? Okay.
Or just ban Rekkles.
Or just ban Rekkles out. Ban Rekkles.
What if 1080 is overpowered?
Oh, God. Well, it's never going to happen, hopefully.
He's going to go Ezreal 5 games in a row.
I hate that champion. I hate that champion. I understand the value it has, but it drives me nuts. On to the meat of this episode, the thing that I think personally most excited about, and that is, Jesiz, you wrote a list. You stack ranked every single player in Europe by role. Now, I'm going to cough, because I have to cough, and then I'm going to read this entire list. So
I'll
everyone,
talk while you cough.
There you go.
This list is purely based on these 7 weeks of summer split. You don't care about history or anything. It's just 7 weeks of scrims plus stage performance. So obviously the sample size at this point is much bigger than the first one you did, which was week 2.
Yeah.
Where there was definitely a lot of people questioning some of your decisions.
Of course.
And it goes 1 to 10, basically.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So top lane is Wunder.
Well, 1 to 9 actually. Sorry.
You don't do Misfits.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So not including Misfits. Oh, okay. That's smart. Wunder, sOAZ, Kobbe, Ottawamne, Prophet, Ruin, White Knight, Vizichachi, and Smitty J. So interesting. I don't think surprising to see.
I mean,
at the bottom.
I have one thing that is, I think for a lot of people based on the name, stands out is Vizichachi being second last on your list. Now, I don't actually disagree with you based on, the fact he's just stuck on a tank in most of the games, except for now when he's playing Rumble. But Chachi himself, why do you rate him as the second worst?
I mean, I think the other top laners have just purely performed better, showed wider champion pools, and just been performing consistently better also in scrims. And I think this is probably Vizichachi's worst split ever. I think he's performing really poorly individually, especially lane phase, this split. So, I mean, for me, it's just an obvious choice of putting him either second last or last.
Do you think the last couple of weeks have been better for him? I think his Rumble has been pretty good.
Obviously he's getting better and better. I mean, that's his experience. But I don't think anyone from Schalke or Schalke have shown anything crazy great other than Nukeduck. I think Nukeduck. And Vander. I think Vander is performing better and better. But I think, just pretty much just Nukeduck on that team.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm surprised to see him rated solo too. I think this had been made in week 4, week 5. I'd be 100% on board, but he has been looking a little bit better.
I would definitely put Ruin under him personally.
I'd put White Knight under him for sure as well. But I think that's kind of one of the interesting things about Schalke is how many people that, based on name and historical performance, that you look at to be the top of the list that are now
It hurts to put him down there because of history, right?
Yeah.
And I really have to put away all this history thought in my head when I do this kind of list.
Hans, do you agree with the top lane list?
I've no clue about top lane, to be honest.
I'm
they don't really. They're the odd man out. They don't really play the game.
I just don't want to play tanks.
Cool. We move on.
So jungle is next. It is Broxah, Kikis, Memento as top 3, and then the rest are in no order at all. So Cold, Jankos, Joko, Jactroll, Amazing Cersei, just listing off the junglers remaining in the league. I guess Shook kind of on that list.
Gilius as well, I suppose.
Gilius. But so this is the only part of the list where you ranked players and then just said the rest, the pile of the rest.
Yeah.
So what's the logic there? What's the difference maker?
So obviously I think Broxah is the best. I mean, obviously along Max Lore, just to exclude Max Lore, I think Broxah is the best. And then there's obviously also Memento. I think he's been performing really,
We've all hit that part at some point.
really well this split. But yeah, I mean, Kikis in the last, he's played 2 weeks now?
Yes.
In the last 2 weeks, have been performing out of his mind, I think. So I had to just put him there. And I think junglist is so hard to really judge because it's so team dependent. And that's why it was really hard to rate the remaining, 6 junglers?
Yeah.
So
the rest of the pool.
Pretty much, I just, threw them out there. I think, people have been hyping Amazing a bit, but I think it's a Sejuani, pretty much.
He definitely looked good on Sejuani, it's true. Before that, there was a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Is there anyone from this list, like Cold, Jankos, Joko, Cersei, those kind of names that could get close to the top 3?
I think Cold for sure. I think he's just getting hard inted right now by his mid laner. I don't know about Jactroll. He does look like he's elo held a bit as well, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to judge.
Right.
And I think sOAZ is kind of the same as Amazing for me. It just doesn't stand out to me. Just is there on a currently winning team. So, yeah.
Hans, is there any jungler you hate playing against?
I don't remember. Which jungler again bought the most?
I think maybe.
Could be Broxah. When Rekkles is playing, it was Broxah.
Okay, then
I like this from like an AD character.
Yeah. He's like,
I don't know any top
wait,
laners. I don't know any.
I play with nameplates off. Which was the one who ganked me 8 times in a row? That guy. Screw that guy.
Isn't there something for you as a laner where you need to know something about the jungler you're playing against? Like what style is this guy who ganks level 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, or is he a farmer or whatever? Or is that not relevant?
maybe I have an eye on Jactroll, which path weird sometimes.
Okay.
So maybe.
Yeah, Joker's
I will
a bit
get
crazy.
ganked really at random times.
You'd be like, all right, the jungler should be level 4 now. He should be on top side. And then there's like a level 3 Zac on top of you. That's the Joker
But this
special. It's like
level
he's
3
sacrificing up his camps. Why is he doing this? Because it works.
That's definitely a joke.
It works every time. I mean, jungle's a really interesting one, but I think it's interesting specifically for this role that this feels like the hardest role to tell because without a laning phase, it's hard to see if someone's getting ELO held by their team, right? Because if your laners are losing, you just don't get to play the game as a jungler for the most part.
I think Broxah number 1, most people would agree with right now.
And once again, excluding any Misfits members.
Sure. But I think Broxah, I mean, based on the 7 weeks we've seen so far, I would put Broxah at least one step above max lore. I think Kikis is the interesting one because he's only played 2 weeks, so the sample size is very small. But he's looked fantastic during the 2 weeks, which is actually
surprised the hell out of me. He is a machine, but I did not expect it, dude.
This is when I watched him in EU Masters. I was like, the first couple of games he played. I'm not sure if you remember watching.
It was just a monkey.
Yeah, he was just like dying everywhere. I was like, wow, he's died more times than I thought you could actually die as a jungler in this game, playing Olaf, just invading level 2. And
so he's consistently impressed you, is what you're saying.
It was just like he just died so much, but in playoffs he actually got a lot better. You guys obviously played him in the final. You probably don't think he was the greatest jungler at that point. But him joining Vitality then, like, I'm not sure if it's a honeymoon phase. Or if it's just like it's a new style people need to get used to when they're playing against him, because like he plays for himself, which really seems to benefit them a lot more right now, and makes him look really good as well when they're winning. So I think having him high on the list, because it's a 2 week sample size, I probably wouldn't have put him up there. But you're obviously basing this on just what you're seeing, and you're saying this guy performs really well.
I also think that just in general, that this is probably for me would be the hardest section to fill in. Would be jungle.
We have some inconsistent junglers.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Or junglers on bad teams.
Yeah, or junglers who are like super up and down that they look good when their team is winning and look terrible. Oh, forgot to turn the laptop sound off. All right, on to mid. So first place, Caps, Perkz, Nukeduck, Niski, Jizuke, Blanc, Betsy, Exile, and Selfie. So Caps number 1 doesn't super surprise me.
There's actually no surprises on this one.
You put Exiles. Let's talk about Exile in 9th place or 8th place here in the case that it's a 9-tier mid laner. Do you think that it's just that like because we obviously have seen really low lows? Is it just that we've also seen some high highs from Exile that puts him above Selfie?
Yeah, I mean on my old list I put him 3rd, I think. Just based on the first 2 weeks, it was actually like I think a top 3, top 4 mid laner. But this guy is just so I don't know. It's like legit my solo queue mid laner. It's like one game I go into a game with this guy and he's on my team and he's just hard inting. It's just 0-20 or something, And then he goes against me next game and this guy just makes me think he's a good mid laner suddenly. And this is just Exile pretty much. And in the last couple of weeks, I have to put him like all the way down there on the inting list, basically.
Have you guys ever in solo queue when you play got the feeling that you're not really paying attention to anything around you? You're just kind of focusing on yourself a little bit, but you're not really. And people are pinging around the map, you don't really notice it, and you might get ganked, you don't really see it. I always feel like with Exile, the reason he is so inconsistent, and I'm just guessing here based on how he actually plays in the game, is that he has so much focus on specifically like what's happening right in front of him that he doesn't seem to always respect what can happen when you push forward. what's happening on the map right now. Oh, okay, my team is in base. I'm split pushing. Normally, you shouldn't continue split pushing then. But then he still goes for another wave, and that's when he gets caught and dies. Because there's no way it's game knowledge to me. It has to be a focus or like I always want to be just on the edge and preferably just a step across it as well so that I can force something, which is really unnecessary.
He doesn't do it intentionally. There's no way, though. Like, sure, he must have
exactly.
the knowledge, but
Exactly.
he doesn't play this way intentionally.
Because mechanically, he is good.
Yeah, he probably just focuses on, or like has an issue with like hyper focusing on one thing and can't think.
Most likely. It's actually really interesting because he is the kind of player who I love casting Exile because you never know what you're going to get.
Well, that's the thing is no matter what else is happening in the game, the second you enter, no matter what pick ban phase was, you're like, let's talk about Exile. And it's always relevant because he can literally hard stomp his lane and win the game at like 5 minutes, or he can be dead 3 times at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it is really interesting. He's such an interesting character to have in the league. Hansama, do you have any opinion about mid laners?
I mean, any opinions?
Yeah, like, do you agree
Yeah,
with
like,
this, or
Is there someone you think should be rated
most.
higher?
what do you say?
I said, who is playing Galio the most?
Who's playing Galio? Are you just
No,
you are so
Oh, man.
focused? Who plays Champions of the Globe?
You don't pay
True
attention to
Draven.
anyone.
Who plays TF the most?
Nukeduck
see.
has played once.
True.
Okay, that should be him.
So I guess Nukeduck.
He should be first place.
Nukeduck should be first place. TF
Fair
one
enough.
trick.
Nah.
Are you scared of any mid laner? So you're just like, I don't care.
Oh,
to play against.
Caps and Perkz, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're pretty good mechanically and shot callers.
Well, don't worry, because we can go on to bot next. Here's where I would expect you to have a lot of opinions, though. All right, so the bot lane list: Attila, Kobbe, Upset, Bwipo, Hjarnan, Hiku, Neon, Sheriff, and Steelback. Attila, okay, Attila in first place surprises me. Steelback in last place.
Who would you pick first, though?
Actually, surprised.
I'd have Whippo based on everything we've seen on stage higher.
I would put Bwipo above Kobbe and.
But I actually think Upset is underrated this split.
Yeah, but I don't think he's had enough games where he's popped off in the same.
You
way.
don't notice him because we always talk about Nukeduck, but he's actually consistently been really good. So I agree with having him really high on the list. I probably wouldn't have put Kobbe second right now. I think there's been a lot of games where a lot of it comes down to them not knowing what they wanted to play. But to me, this has not been a split where Kobbe stood out so far. And obviously, it's been hard for him with the transition to mages. And he's been in a lot of Ezreal games where I feel like European Ezreal players don't carry. They're just there. They're safety, but they don't actually win you the game. So I think based on this split, I think Kobbe is too high for me.
Okay.
I'll probably swap. I'll just put Whippo second and Kobbe fourth, and then I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think that's fair. I mean, for Kobbe, I think I put him second because I think most of Splash's wins is pretty much 80% him, in my opinion. I think he never fails, pretty much. And I think that's really valuable for a team. To have an AD carry that is like really a backbone. And Bwipo is, I mean, I've seen him and I've seen him hard carry. And I think as well with the meta shifting away from him, I think it's like if a guy is one-dimensional, you also have to take that into account as well. So I think all around for the AD carry role, I think Kobbe, it could be placed too high on second, but at the same time, I would personally rather want him than Bwipo.
Hans, what do you think about the bot lane list?
Is Attila that good? Explain that one to me. How good is Attila? Let's talk about that.
I mean, I would have seen. I mean, from Jesiz' perspective, Attila is first, but I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Vitality LCS matches, so I wouldn't know. But I think
Yeah, but you play against it. Talk to me about laning against Attila. Is this guy like super hard to lane against? Easy? Has it always been a favorable matchup, so it's hard to tell? Give us the deets.
What did he play against me? I don't remember actually.
God, I don't
Yeah, we haven't actually scrimped him that much, and most of my opinion is just from
Yeah,
watching.
I don't really remember playing too much.
Okay, so tell me who you do remember. Let's do that. I tried to make it Attila. Who stands out to you? Who is the person that you're scared to play against? Who's the person?
Because he's so flexible. Like he plays, I don't know, but in screens, man.
Yeah, I mean, that bot lane is just scary.
I don't like to play against the bot lane. Fnatic bot lane. And yeah, I think Kobbe upset are pretty good. And the others are pretty good as well. I think they're all pretty good.
Everyone is pretty good. Okay. Yeah, interesting.
I would put Whippo more higher.
I probably would put, based on the 7 weeks, Whippo first, Attila second, Upset third, Kobbe fourth. I think that would be my list. And then I think the second part is fair enough. Like, it's actually interesting with Europe because I feel like the AD carry pool is not super strong overall. Like you put it as they're all pretty good, which I think it's okay. But like I look at a lot of the names and I don't think to myself, this guy wins you games. And to me, like the best AD carries in history are the ones we say, okay, once we get past a certain point, this guy will carry the game, you know. When you're looking really good on Sama, you can do it. Rekkles on Fnatic have done it so often. Like Kobbe on Splice, last split, like that was their main win condition, was just protect Kobbe and he will win you the game. And I think a lot of the names in Europe, they can't do that right now. And I don't know if it's because Europe has just shifted away from playing around bot lane specifically, or if it's just the player base.
Maybe it's mainly because of the meta, which has shifted a bit weird. I mean, always majors, and it's kind of confusing for IDs to play majors. And I think it's mainly because of the meta that we can't see players shining up more than the other roles.
Definitely. Because a guy like Sheriff obviously had a great last split towards the end. And now...
But he's playing Swain all the time.
Yeah, now he's stuck on either Mage or Xayah.
One last question on this list. Steelback is at the back, or is the bottom of the list, very bottom. Now, historically, I'm not a Steelback fan. I think that he's had a lot of really bad splits back to back, but he has looked pretty good recently on Giants. That's my impression. Not, super going deep back, but from the surface, he's had a couple good Ezreal moments. He's way more aggressive than he used to be. This is the first split ever I think I've seen him like flash forward in every single game, at least once. So why is he so far down on the bottom? Do you not see improvement in this guy?
I mean, I would highly consider putting him above Sheriff. But at the same time, I would rather have Sheriff on my team. That I kind of put that into factor when I make this list. It's like based on these 7 weeks, who is the best player, based on whatever I've seen from him, and also who would I prefer to have on my team, because that also matters. Since I think it's a lot, like I said, it's a lot more than just what you see, like mechanically or whatever. I think a lot of it is also what they could potentially bring as a player in terms of variety and play style, and just what I would prefer to have from an AD carrying game. I think I would prefer to have Sheriff slightly more than Steelback.
And Sheriff's definitely a younger player too, so obviously, in theory, more room to grow, more room to develop, which I think makes it a fair argument.
Sure, I mean, you can add as many factors as you want here. Suddenly, no one can argue with your list because you just keep adding, but he's also Danish, so it goes up a little bit there. But I think with the Steelback point of last week, the Ezreal moments people highlight, I do recommend going back and watching the fights. This is actually not criticism towards him because he did his job in them, but to me, those fights were won more by someone like Ruin on Rumble, who literally 3-man ults like 2 or 3 fights in a row, and everyone is low and dying, and then obviously the AD carry cleans up. So I'd rather give that credit to,
So do you think it's more like old school Steelback the janitor rather than like this, what I'm seeing it as, which is a new, more aggressive Steelback?
I think what Steelback is doing is his job right now on Giants. I don't think he's the hard carry. I don't think he's going above what he's done in the past. I think he's cleaned up some unnecessary deaths, which is good. But to me, when I see the big fights the Giants are winning, I don't feel like it's Steelback who's the carry. Like he's the one guy doing it.
Yeah. And I definitely wasn't saying that.
No. Yeah. No, I'm just like, because I think like Ruin specifically, in some of those moments, like his Rumble was really good and deserved a lot of credit for that.
For sure. A lot of really solid execution from that team. I think surprised a lot of people. But onto the last section of the list, support category, Jactroll in first, Vander in second, Hylissang third. I don't know why I'm listing off every ranking. I'm just going to list them now. Wadid, Norskaren, Totoro, Promiscu, Kasing, and Sir Nukeslot. Jactroll number 1. This is interesting. I'm a little bit biased here in the sense that I always think back to the times where Jactroll was really struggling, was dying a ton last split. Now I know that's
Tom Kench, baby.
Yeah, and I know that's not something you factored in. I know it's just the 7 weeks, but that always makes it hard, or makes it hard for me initially just to think about this guy as a potential number 1 or number 2 if Misfits players were included, and you really like Mickey, rated support.
Yeah, so I think the last list I made, I based the supports off of who I thought had more brain and who was the smarter player, basically. And this time I wanted a different approach. I came to a realization that I might as well base the list off of everyone's strengths and not what they should be, in my opinion. And so I just kind of said, okay, well, who is performing the best individually to like a carry support or whatever. And so I just ranked them as I thought it was.
So who is basically individually like doing the best, who's, in laning phase, roaming, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think Hylissang easily has potential to be number 1. But at the same time, I don't think it's consistent what he's doing either. So I wouldn't want to put him number 1, but I would put him top 3 in that category. But I think Jactroll and Vander have really stepped it up individually, both lane phase and out of lane. So that's why they're there.
I'm scared to ask you, Hans.
Well,
do you have any opinions on the support list?
I mean,
This is where you pop off on somebody. You're just like, this guy sucks. This guy mediocre.
I like Kasing. It should be first.
Kasing?
No, I'm joking, but yeah, I pretty much agree with the list there. But if there was another meta, like shield meta, maybe Kasing would shine the most.
Yeah, because Kasing is below Promiscu here, and Promiscu's had a few good moments in the recent weeks. He did beat Splice. Maybe that moves him up immediately. But Kasing being so low down, I think, is surprising.
What's your reasoning for Kasing second last?
He's just not good at the game, I think. I obviously zero things against him. I just think purely off of gameplay and just individual skill, like mechanics or whatever. I don't think he stands out mechanically. I don't think he stands out as a smart player either. So I think he's just bound to be in the bottom part of the list. I think pretty much all supports in Europe are pretty bad from what I think a support should be like in terms of playstyle. So I think the list is a little weird. It's a bit like the jungle role. I think the list is, like I said, just a lot about mechanics. But at the same time, I don't think anyone like super stands out mechanically either. So it's a little bit of a weird list.
Is support the weakest position in Europe right now?
That or top lane. I would say, probably support. I think top lane just has maybe 3-4 top laners, and then support has 1-2 max supports.
And here, are we talking like international level or?
No, I'm just talking about
just like in a vacuum. What is the relative weakest?
What about ADs?
I think all ADs are good enough. I mean, most ADs are good enough, but I don't think there are that many that like super stands out as like Uzi kind of thing.
Yeah, they wouldn't win against LCK ADs, or
yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Very interesting. With the support one, because when I look at a lot of the names, I see a lot of names where I'm like, this guy is good half his games, and I'm like, whoa, Norskaren, like mechanically actually can look really good. Totoro we haven't seen sadly in a while after the carry swap happened, because it's very hard to roam if you're losing bot lane.
No, for sure. But that's the same thing where, I mean, like, he's had 1 or 2 games where you're like, wow, Totoro is insane.
Right, yeah.
Because now it's not nearly as good.
I think Norskaren is a super exciting player also. Like, he's still very young. And, like, he's clearly not afraid on stage, which is a big problem for a lot of people in the past. But, like, you have to play the main engage. And then if you do not pull the trigger on stage, like, you just cost your team potentially a game. I think Norskaren is actually willing to make plays and risk quote unquote looking bad on stage to try and set up his team.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Which I actually really respect, because there are so many supports in history or junglers who are stuck on engage and just never do it. They're just like, they're so scared unless they see the big opening. Hylissang as well is the kind of guy who would never obviously back down.
Which has been a problem in his
Which
career.
has been a problem, but also been his greatest strength a lot of times. So I think we have a lot of supports now who are not afraid of actually making plays. But obviously, in terms of what they bring as shot callers and whatever, it's hard to judge from our side.
I kind of look at how they ward and where they sweep and where they place pink, because I think a lot, like, that speaks a lot for the player, like they whether they think ahead of time or not, like whether they can read the map from like a different perspective. I think a lot of them are very like individually champ focused. Like they just focus on where they're walking and how they're throwing a skill shot, and potentially, I see a potential to roam here, and just roaming for fun.
It feels like the support meta has become almost like a support carry meta in a sense for some of these support players.
I mean, it's all playmakers.
It's a lot of playmakers at least.
Like, I can't think of a single team where they're like, ooh, wow, we'd really rather put our dude on Tahm Kench over Alistar,
G2.
Rakan, or Pyke.
G2
Yeah,
love
G2, and that's
grabbing
looked
Tahm Kench.
so great for them, right? Like,
they
that's
love
looked
early
so
picking that
good.
Tahm Kench.
So outside of G2, I think like everything. I think about every single team, and other than Kissing in some games and occasionally Sir Nuke slot, I'm like, I could see any of these guys playing Rakan, Pyke, Alistar, right? Like all of them, I would imagine is that kind of player, right? Where they would be making a play, where they would be a key initiator.
Yeah, it's interesting. Who's the hardest support to play against in lane?
In lane?
Or are they all the same?
Hylissang.
Hylissang is the hardest in lane.
Yeah, I mean,
He's fake pressuring a lot.
yeah, exactly. He doesn't care where your jungler
They
is.
play. He is the guy who plays the best with Fog of War.
Okay, so basically fake pressure, what you mean is that he steps forward and you think maybe a gank is happening or he's going to engage on you and then you miss CS, or?
He's like a
Kind of like
coin flipper.
this, and I'm not sure, maybe they're managing the wave great and playing with Fog, with the wave they manage well.
Okay. Because that's, I mean, if you guys were going to teach someone at home as a support how to fake pressure, because that would be very useful in solo queue too, where you never know what's going to happen. Like, can you is there any way you can quickly try
That's
and give a few
very
tips?
quick. It's just understanding whether your jungler is showing or not. If your jungler is not showing and they don't know whether there's camp bot side or not, so like there's a decent chance that your jungler can be bot side, you can just walk up as if your jungler's there. And of course, I mean, it's always going to be a risk. Like, I think Hylissang does this a lot, like takes a lot of risks like this, where if he steps up and the enemy for some reason like know where his jungler is, he's just gonna die pretty much. Like he plays a lot by the limit, and it can be scary to play against, but I mean, once you get used to it, it's easier.
Now, I like that as a strategy, but I want to remind our viewers at home, if you're in low elo, people don't look at the mini-map anyway, so faking pressure doesn't
work.
do anything.
That's true.
they're just going to either try to fight you or they're not, no matter what you're doing. So be careful.
Also counts for low diamond, by the way. It doesn't have to be. I mean, that
All
is
solo queue.
in a way low elo as well. The brain and the minimap does not always exist.
Even challenger.
Yeah, I would even say from watching, just when I watch like streams and stuff, it really anywhere you can definitely just assume that they don't care what a genre could be.
So we're approaching the end of the show. Thank you, Jesiz, for sharing this list with us. It's always cool to see how different people rate up, and very often it's just a mid laner or just a bot or just whatever, but you've given us everything, which is fantastic, so thank you for that. One thing we forgot to do at the start of the show was gifts, which is hilarious, because this is the first time I think we've had people both guests bring a gift, and especially when you're on the same team, or something to show and tell, as we always like to say. So Hans, why don't you go first? What did you bring for us?
Just a drawing that I made. Why do I show it?
You can show it to that camera, or you can hand it to me and I can show it to the camera.
We can do it.
Okay, all right.
All right.
All right, well, first I want to...
First, you need to describe the drawing.
It is...
Just a basic drawing that I've made in like 15 minutes.
It's nice. There's a lot of ideas. So anime, for those of you who are familiar with Onsama, very talented artist, very much into the manga kind of anime style. And it looks like we have a nice, pretty girl or a boy Whatever, it's 2018. No one's worried about it anymore. Joining us on set with a wonderful Hansama signature. I like it a lot. It's cool. You drew this like as we were getting ready, which was my favorite part about it.
Stuff.
During makeup, like how quickly you can do this is still super impressive to me. I'm always impressed by people with artistic talent. I just shout, so it's like by comparison, very cool.
Would you be able to turn Drakos and myself into anime characters?
I like this question. Good question, Martin.
Of course, yes.
So that you could still see it was, me and Drakos, but we would look a little bit different.
Of course.
You can't tell this is you.
Maybe boost the muscles a bit.
Your long hair, really buff.
This is definitely
really buff.
Yeah, that would be great.
Man.
You gotta make a real buff. This is definitely gonna be part of our bet later.
Oh, for sure. Also, I'm gonna go put this on the set. But Jesiz, what did you bring for us this fine day?
This is an easier gift, of course. I don't really need to use any talent for this one. Unfortunately, it's not
Well,
vegan.
Great taste.
But
We'll have the brain of Jesse if you eat it.
toffee.
Thank you, Toffee. Now we have a problem here. Jesiz, thank you very much, by the way. Hans, your gift was wonderful. The Toffee, however,
this man trains years of his life to be able to
some
draw
of the
something
greatest
for you.
candy of all time is Toffee. So it's hard for you to compete, to be fair. We have a problem is that normally we have to put the gifts on the set. But
this one goes in the stomach.
This is candy.
And my stomach is usually on the set.
That is a good point.
You can leave the package.
We will leave the package here, but we will definitely eat what's inside. It's a great gift.
I've actually never had this before, by the way.
You never had toffee?
What?
Never had toffee.
Very famous in Germany and Denmark as well.
Yeah, I've never.
Do you have toffee in France?
No, never heard about it.
Really? You're gonna try one.
As soon as the show is done, my
yeah.
friend, you are gonna. This is a gift to be shared.
Oh,
That's everything.
sure.
Also, it took Jessiz 2 minutes to walk down the supermarket and just grab a toffee.
That's called efficiency.
I respect that.
Got him. All right, last topic, match of the week. Who is it?
It's G2 versus Misfits.
What a coincidence. We have Misfits players here. G2 in third place. I think tie you guys if they beat you in this match. So let's talk a little bit about the matchup. How are you guys feeling? Do you feel like you guys are the favorites? What's it going to take for you guys to take down G2? Is this where we get Hansama to flame the entire G2 lineup? Hint. I'm just kidding.
Tell us what
just talk to us about the matchup. What do you think? How are you feeling? Are you guys confident that you're going to win it?
I mean, we haven't started practice. This week, and
Jesus,
I can't tell right now. I've been practicing, of course, individually, but as a team, not yet, because there's
the player summit.
There's summit riot,
yesterday.
handicapping us a little.
Now you're stuck here doing the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Deliberate.
Exactly. So, but I feel confident already against them.
What do you think about G2? Do you think they're a good team?
I think they're a pretty good team. They play smarter than other teams, and they play micro really well.
Interesting. Jesiz, G2 esports have not been doing so hot lately. Why do you think G2 have been struggling? Obviously, you don't reveal anything specific for strategy reasons, but
What has Wunder been playing?
Wunder, he's been trying a few carries, but otherwise been on a lot of different tanks.
Lately, tanks or
We had the Urgot game that backfired really hard.
He did have the Urgot game.
What did you play last week? That's the question.
Week
Drakos.
7 versus H2K. He played Gnar.
That was an Gnar.
Versus
Fnatic.
He played Gnar again. So double Gnar week. And I'll look back at some other weeks too. So that's interesting because there was that small period of time where they were putting him more on tanks.
Yeah.
Oh, they've done it for most of the split in Europe actually. He had the Javan top, he had the Urgot top, he's played Gnar top as well. Like, are you specifically looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking a lot at Wunder. I think the mid laner and the bot lane. Especially Yarnan, are very smart players. I think Yarnan is a lot more of a brain player than Hans player, so there definitely needs to be a carry in the top lane from the G2 lineup. And I think a lot of it is also about Perkz. And I think the reason why they're not like super shining anything is also because of Janko's performance. I think his performance has gone down quite a lot. I think if he were to step up and really push that early game, like he's kind of known for in the history, then G2 is gonna shine again and get those individual wins for sure.
It's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people would probably agree. Like looking at Jankos, he's the obvious one standing out where you can be like, this guy's not playing like he used to in the past. And it probably hurt him a bit that it was a funnel strat for most of the split. And now he has to play like early game junglers again. Like his Attila was good the one game he got to like carry on it.
He should play a bit like Broxah, I think, because Broxah plays a lot to like get his lanes ahead. He should play a bit the same. But
did
towards
top lane
side.
that one game that was really good. Then completely backfired against Schalke, obviously, and so on. But I think Jankos will slowly get there. I mean, G2 will make playoffs.
So from the way you're talking about it right now, it sounds like G2 are the clear underdogs in this matchup. Do you think that's fair?
Actually, based on how both teams have been playing lately, no, not really.
Okay, because we're very focused. So for on the Misfit side, like, what matchups do you feel like you have the edge in? Because you talk about Hjarnan being a brain player, not necessarily a hands player. Like that's a bot lane matchup I would give to you guys pretty handily. Do you guys feel like you can just win out in a lot of these matchups on individual player levels? Where do you see weaknesses? How does sengKuks match up against? I almost said Nukeduck, Perkz.
We can always say Nukeduck.
No, it's a force of habit at this point.
Do you want to answer that one?
Talk to me about bot lane.
Your bot lane.
Yeah, dude.
No, you can answer it.
Oh, whoa, hi Sama, this is bot lane. He can answer mid lane. Give me the bot lane answer, dude. How do you and Mickey stack up against Wadid and Hjarnan? Is there anything you're worried about playing against these guys? Do you feel like you just?
I mean, in the laning phase, the last time we played against them, they played stuff that you don't win through laning phase. Like it's not like you have better matchup and you need to abuse it. I think that will be the same against them. That I will play more of an AFK lane.
Yep.
And
I would hard bet you that they will play Varus Tahm-Kench. I would hard bet that.
Yeah, and then they will maybe do the difference later with Tahm, which is pretty good making plays, and maybe it will be better than them. Maybe we'll have the Tahm-Kench and making better plays than them. So it's kind of 50-50, I would say.
You're so humble.
50-50?
You're humble. You're 50-50 with Hjarnan?
I mean, most people would look at Hans, Sama, and Mickey as a 2v2 lane and say they're supposed to beat.
Yeah, because
like ignoring matchups.
Hjarnan is number 5 on this list. Are you also tied for number 5? Is that why that lane is a 50-50?
He's a brand player and a hand player, I would say. So I mean, he has different qualities. He has
so
good,
wholesome.
He has good strength, and I have good strength as well. So.
All right, Steven, you are super.
I want to have,
and I respect that, dude.
You are very sweet.
You are very
really
good.
Like
I like it.
But
it's a good quality.
Hans, Sama, and Mickey in a 2v2 lane
will smash. Will smash.
You
yes,
guys are supposed to be better than what Jan Medivh will bring in the 2v2 lane. You can argue anything else outside.
For sure. And pick ban pending. One guy gets the Tahm-Kench. One lane is just going to get hard pushed in. But an even matchup, I clearly give the edge to.
Like Syra Khan versus Syra Khan, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, our bot lane is
a Draven against a Draven.
Exactly.
Then I'm definitely giving it
Timer versus Heimer.
But that's
okay, then they're going to win.
Oh, no.
Like this matchup, because you guys have obviously a very strong bot lane, you guys have actually found mainly success in the early game when you could play around the bottom side, which is something you haven't done too much lately. Top lane, obviously, just as you highlighted, Wunder. I think one of the cool things for Misfits and why I think you guys can match up pretty decently against G2 is that I think EUphoria is he's the guy I trust the most on an island to not go 0-3 and just mess up completely. He's like super solid at just trying his best to not like overextend and like give a 1v1 kill.
I'll actually leak a rating of EUphoria. I think he's number 1.
You think EUphoria is number 1? There you go. So if it is a strategy of like Wunder picks a carry, they try and get him ahead, and then you guys do the same on bottom side, I can see an advantage for Misfits. Obviously, mid jungle is going to be super interesting because it's so hard with Jankos to judge how exactly he's going to perform.
The same is interestingly true the mid lane with sengKuks, right?
Because like you would give the advantage to Perkz right now, but I think sengKuks, if he's not on, if he's not in a hard matchup, is not the kind of player who will just like be dumb and give up free kills. Like, he will just go even, and then he will play with the team, which I think would be great. And then you rely more on other roles, specifically against G2 to carry. So I can see Misfits stack up pretty decently, but it requires obviously the top side of the map to not snowball for G2.
And it also requires a bet. So I'm thinking that it might be time for us to put on our G2 jerseys.
Oh yeah, I'm going G2. I mean, because we know they're going Misfits. So
Yeah, I mean, unless you guys want to go G2 and we go Misfits, but that'd be weird. That'd feel like
That'd be a
weird
little-
bet.
we've never done that, but
I don't really. I think there's a reason. I think
That's too weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Misfits versus you guys down for a little wager?
Depends.
Depends on the wager.
punishment?
I definitely don't want to dress up. You know.
That's fine.
I suggest
Art. I think art. I think
yes,
this is the art bet.
We do. We paint. Loser has to paint the other pair.
Okay.
I'm thinking like
Yeah.
real painting.
Yeah.
Not hand
Yeah.
not like a drawing.
I'm looking. I'm looking.
Paint?
Am I producer right
I
now?
can't paint.
Bob Ross.
Oh yeah, dude.
I don't know how to paint.
That's fine.
don't know how to
We don't know
paint
how to paint either, dude.
Okay.
I'm a brain guy, not a hand guy.
Look.
Dude. I can't paint anything.
We will provide the art supplies, and we will one day after your games, we'll hang out here. We'll get some nice light. The two people who won can pose. The losers will paint them. We'll frame it, and you can take it home and hang it if you want. If you don't want
Or
it,
we put it on the
we'll
set.
hang it on the set.
I would love to have it, but at the same time, we should almost paint.
We can make a photocopy.
What do you want
to
to paint? You not want to paint us?
No, I would love to. But I just mean like I would love for there to be a painting here, but I would also want one in my room. You know.
We'll give the finished original can go to the winner, and then we'll
If they
we'll
want
make a
it.
copy. We'll make take a photo or make a copy to put on
Yeah.
for the other person.
All right.
Deal.
So if G2 wins, you guys have
Yeah.
to paint Drakos and myself. And we need some big ass muscles in there.
Huge,
Uh,
jacked.
and if Misfits win, which will not happen, we will have to paint, of course, you two. And if you have any wishes for what you need, also buff
Yeah,
dudes over there.
super
course.
jacked.
Anyone want to ride a horse or a motorcycle or something?
How you're promising a lot. here.
Fancy mount.
I can barely paint any or draw anything if it's standing in front
I
of
can
me.
do a
Let alone
stick.
imagine what a horse looks like. On
Me maybe holding like a big Danish flag on a mountain.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. We will see if we can do that.
We're gonna watch some Bob Ross videos.
Yeah.
Get ready. Get ready. Prep for it.
Sweet.
Happy little trees.
That's a good bet. No one gets hurt in this bet either. I like
dress
that.
up like a duck.
That is a good bet so far.
All right, wholesome drawing bet this time around. Thank you everyone for watching with us today. Of course, Jesiz, are you going to publish your full list? Are we publishing?
We're publishing it. We've made a graphic.
Yeah.
Last time it was
Fantastic.
published in a note block or something.
Yeah, I
Note.
just
It was like
did it casually.
really low effort. I'm very
Yeah, we'll give
disappointed.
you the graphic. You put it on your Twitter. We'll show it too, so you guys can check out the list yourself. Share it amongst yourselves. Tell Jesiz what you think.
And
Hopefully
remember-
with kind, wholesome words, folks.
Yes.
Don't get angry.
Remember, when you argue with him, he will just add another reason for why this player is above. So you can actually never win this argument.
Can never win.
This guy once, bought me an ice cream.
Hey,
Unstoppable.
and he will also just say it's based on scrims, and then all of us have to back down, and we're like, well, yeah,
Never seen them.
Yes.
That's called arguing.
yes, we don't know then.
Thank you both for coming. Thank you for the gifts, the edible ones and the non-edible ones. This has been episode 8 of season 2.
8, yeah, because Hylissang messed up so badly, and he kept messing up to 7, so this is definitely 8.
Okay, this is episode 8 of season 2. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you guys next week.